The wrong number. It started with a simple text. Mark received a message from an unknown number one night. "Hey, I'm outside." He assumed it was just someone with the wrong number, so he replied, "Sorry, wrong number," and thought nothing of it. But the texts kept coming. Every night, around the same time, Mark would get a new message. "Hey, I'm outside." It was always the same. At first, he thought it was just a prank, but it didn't stop, and it started to get weirder. One night, he received a picture with the text. It was a blurry photo of his house, taken from across the street. Mark was starting to get freaked out, but he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He showed his friend, who laughed it off, telling him it was probably just a joke. But that didn't make it any easier for him to sleep at night. The messages continued, and with each one, the photos got closer. First, they were from the street. Then, from his front yard. Then, one of the messages simply read, "Nice house." The next photo was of his living room window. Now Mark was terrified. He went to the police, but they didn't have much to go on. There was no way to trace the number, and they couldn't exactly open an investigation over text messages. They advised him to get a new phone number and suggested it was probably someone playing a prank. Mark changed his number, relieved to be free of the messages. For a few days, everything was quiet. But just as he started to relax, his phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. "I see you." Mark's blood went cold. He tried calling the number, but it didn't go through. Every time he got another message, he called the police, but there was nothing they could do. He even installed security cameras around his house, hoping to catch whoever was stalking him. One night, he decided to stay up, waiting by the window, hoping he'd spot the person who had been tormenting him. But there was no one outside, just silence, with only the faint buzz of his phone in his hand. He opened it, dreading what he might see. The message read, "I'm closer than you think." Attached was a photo taken from inside his house, showing him sitting by the window. Mark jumped to his feet, his heart racing. He frantically searched every room, turning on every light, but he found no one. He was completely alone, or so he thought. The text stopped after that night. He didn't hear anything for weeks. He tried to get back to his normal life, telling himself maybe it was just a hacker playing an elaborate prank. But then, about a month later, he was going through his old phone messages when he noticed a new folder in his phone's photos. It was called Hidden. Inside were hundreds of photos taken over the past month. Each photo was of him, going about his daily life, taken from close range, at work, at the grocery store, even in his bedroom, asleep. And there was one last photo, taken the day he'd found the folder. It was of him, looking at his phone in horror. Attached was a final message. "I told you, I'm closer than you think." To this day, he never found out who was behind it. He moved, changed his number again, even got rid of his phone for a while. But sometimes, late at night, he thinks he hears his phone buzzing and wonders if he's really alone.